Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This film is rated PG for mild crude humour, innuendo, coarse language and slapstick violence. This is Kia's Reviews and this is my review of Barbie. Barbie is a non-stop wild party that is continuously entertaining and never drops its grip on the audience the entire time, consisting of laugh-out-loud comedy, musical numbers, a superb soundtrack, and a surprisingly deep look into feminism, the patriarchy, equality, and self-worth, as well as one's purpose in the world. While the trailers promote Barbie as a non-stop glitter pink party, that is only contained to the first 20 minutes, Dua Lipa's Dance the Night instantly getting you energized and excited for what's to come. This first introductory segment of the film is full of everything you want from a Barbie movie, putting dance sequences in the forefront of a disco setup with pink, silver and blue everywhere. The flashing lights and cinematography, as well as the instant banter between its cast, is established so quickly that it sends audiences straight into the story and gives them something to invest in, even if it appears only to be a lot of fun. However, once Barbie and Ken make their transition to the real world, the plot vies for a deeper tone that questions what it is to be and poses questions about how Barbie has influenced the world and proceeds to both condemn and encompass every aspect of the doll. Even though Barbie tackles a lot of themes that are very mature, ranging from self-love, self-recognition, what a person's purpose in life is, feminism, equality, body image, and so much more, is exactly why Greta Gerwig is once again directing some of the greatest films to ever come out in the last decade. Only she would be able to give audiences both young and older a movie that encapsulates a viewership of all ages to teach and instill the ideas that are constantly still being tackled in today's society and gives young girls a chance to learn from the messages of this film. However, this isn't only Barbie's journey to recognise these messages, but Ken also alludes to the men and boys in the audience that are also being taught how equality really should be handled and the role that men should be playing alongside women and not above or below them. The maturity that comes with this Barbie film is astounding and achieves every single message that it wants to convey because it has a certain resonance that captures the hearts of anyone who watches it. It's a movie that has a lot to say, and while it's very clear that this is the goal wrapped in Barbie packaging, it'll make its impact profoundly as more people go to see it. Since Barbie is incredibly emotionally mature, the deep and sometimes dark themes are never enough to lead it down a plot arc that feels dark, as every moment in this film has an uplifting aspect to every frame. While it tackles these concepts and ideas, the comedy never ceases unless it's unnecessary or doesn't suit the empowering sequences that are also being put alongside it. The comedy is perfect and delivers almost every single time that it's attempted, so much so that you don't stop laughing the entire time, the frequency of the jokes being incredibly constant. However, when a message needs to be made, it doesn't evade the story's progression, but instead heightens and gives more value to what audiences were originally expecting, and I couldn't have been more happier with that, because while you were learning and being taught all of these real-world issues, you were consistently having fun at the same time, and I found that to be very impressive. The placement of the film's soundtrack and its big songs were immaculate, as Billie Eilish's What Was I Made For gave the emotional sting that the audience craved and the story needed, which made it utterly perfect. The soundtrack is beyond a large part of this movie, and there is such a range of music here, but somehow it feels like it all comes together stunningly and suits the movie for what it is. Not only are the songs so different from each other, but the representation of all of the different Barbies and Kens makes this film so accessible for anyone watching. There doesn't seem to be a representation left out, whether it be from Barbie Land or the real world. It hones in on the horrors of the world at the moment, but does it in a way that holds enough shock value to make it feel like it was a foreign concept to you all along. Gerwig handles these sequences with such fragility and respect and makes her mark with these plot points. The soundtrack accompanies that, and while there are some very silly but meaningful musical numbers like the iconic I'm Just Ken song performed by Gosling, the music adapts to the story being told and doesn't ever feel out of place. There's room for plenty of laughs here, but there's also room for tears, and while it is a roller coaster of a movie itself, the emotional ride that this has in store is bewildering to the point where it feels like you have to hold back your tears. The fun that comes with Barbie is easily its cast, and with such an all-star cast, they all have their moment to shine, even though it's a movie about Margot Robbie's Barbie and Ryan Gosling's Ken. Without a doubt, Margot was the perfect pick for Barbie and accentuates all of the good and bad reception to the dolls over the years in a serious but sometimes humorous way. From the way she walks or expresses herself to the physical comedy that she throws herself into, she has defined this role as her own, and while she's played iconic roles like Harley Quinn and defined them too, Barbie was seemingly made for her. However, even though she is beyond brilliant, the show stealer is easily Ryan Gosling's Ken. He acts like a child throwing a tantrum almost the entire movie, and he's hilarious to watch the entire time. Whenever he's on screen, you can't help but giggle knowing that something ridiculous or hilarious was about to come up. While he does have a beautiful character arc and commits to the role with everything that he is, Gosling provides the safety net for the audience to balance out the serious tone of Barbie's character. Both Margot and Ryan couldn't have been a more perfect pairing for this film. The only issue I had with Barbie was that it was sometimes too silly for its own good, that it took away from some of the movie's most important scenes and its most emotionally stinging. While it's an infrequent aspect, it still manages to make the audience thrilled, but left with a certain sense of minor disappointment. However, that also comes with an imbalance in the third act of what is to be received as comedy or maturity. The third act certainly blurs the lines with this, especially in the I Am Just Ken musical sequence, since it wants to establish Ken's motives and feelings about being rejected and how nice he tries to be all the time, but still seems to end up with nothing. But given that Gosling has only been comedic for the first 2 acts, the importance of this scene seems to be somewhat stripped away, and therefore regarded as comedy, which didn't feel like the original intention for this sequence. Sometimes the comedy gets confused with the integral messages that Gerwig wants to convey, but aside from that, Barbie never stops from being a wildly entertaining movie that gives audiences of all ages a good laugh. It's nice to see the element from Pixar of jokes going over kids' heads and entertaining the adults instead. This ended up being a very welcome approach here. Barbie is a non-stop joyride that gives audiences everything that they could possibly want from a Barbie movie, balancing emotion, comedy, themes, music, and innuendos brilliantly. With an all-star cast all having their moments to shine, the leads in Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling couldn't have portrayed the iconic duo of Barbie and Ken any better than they did. There is so much light-hearted joy that emanates from this experience, and it's certainly one to go with a big group of friends to, because you'll laugh heaps together, and at times you may even shed a tear. The powerful themes and messages that come within this glitter pink package is exceptionally surprising, but gives the movie the resonance it needs to stick with audiences beyond its theatrical release, and gives people of all ages a perspective on what an ideal world could look like in comparison to the issues that are dealt with in society nowadays regarding feminism, patriarchal structures, equality, body image, and so much more. Barbie is such a mature movie while still being wildly silly and heaps of fun, but definitely knows how to cater for any audience member. It's simply one of the most enjoyable experiences in a cinema that I've had all year, so I'll give Barbie an 8 out of 10. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Letterboxd and Instagram for all of my latest movie reviews. This has been Kia's Reviews, signing off for now.
Don't forget to like, follow, and obey.